we're going to come down to our back. So we're going to have a little play with bridge pose. So rolling down into this reclined shape. Feet flat on the floor. You want to be able to tickle your Achilles tendons with your fingertips. So your feet are quite close to your bottom, but your feet are still hip distance apart. Knees pointing up towards the sky, hands move away from the body. So don't be tempted here to use your arms and your hands. Maybe the arms come wide into a T shape or overhead, but just ignore your arms for now. There's probably a little gap underneath your lower back at the moment. I want you to draw your lower back towards the floor. Squeeze the belly button in towards the spine. You're closing the gap between your low ribs and your hip points. Squeeze in tight and keep that nice and tight, okay? Deep breath in at the bottom. Exhale breath, press into your heel bones. Squeeze the glutes and lift the hips up towards the sky. So you're rolling up through the length of the spine. You're not taking this into a back bend shape. You're still engaging through the midline. You're still trying to close the gap between the low ribs and the hips. It's just the bottom that is firing up here to squeeze the hips upwards. When you get to your top range, I want you to notice what your knees are doing. Now your knees are probably wanting to splay wide away from each other. Can you keep the knees tucking in, stacked over the tops of the ankles? And as you start to draw the knees inwards, you'll notice the hamstrings and the inner thighs firing up as well. Take a deep breath in at the top. Exhale, you roll back down. The hips come towards the earth. We're still engaging through the midline. Belly button squeezing towards the spine. And then release. Let's try that again. Deep breath in at the bottom. Engage midline of the body. Exhale, draw the hips towards the sky. Press down into the heel bones, roll all the way up. So you may well find that you've got a bit more space. You can come up onto the shoulder tips. But again, notice if you're finding a back bend here. Keep closing the gap between the low ribs and the hip points. Isolate this movement to the bottom, the hamstrings, the inner thighs. Can you draw the knees a little closer together at the top? If that's enough sensation, stay there. Perhaps you want a little bit more. You can start to find a pulsing motion at the very top. So you squeeze the glutes a little bit more, lift them a tiny bit higher on the inhale, and the exhale, you release them ever so slightly. Squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Let's go for 2 more breaths, whichever option you're going for. Inhale, exhale for 1. Breath in for 2. Exhale for 2. Really nice. With control, roll back down the spine. Easy as you go. Hips come towards the floor and then release. Again, another little gap appears at the lower back. The inner thighs can relax.